Good morning, boys and girls of the internet. Today is Monday, May 20th, 2019. And you hear that? What's that sound? That's the sound of millions of HBO subscriptions being canceled right now. I don't know. Game of Thrones, after 8 long seasons, since starting in 2011, has now finally come to an end. Last night, they had their final episode, and I want to talk about it a bit. I made that joke because, people probably had HBO only for Game of Thrones, and that's what they use it for. Or they all use their friend's password. That's some of my friends. At any rate, so it was a final episode, and trying to not go into spoilers for this episode too much. I was debating on whether or not to go into spoilers, but I mean, everybody should know by now if you're into the show, but fuck it, I'll spoil some things. I just say overall, I was there's a lot of things in it that surprised me. They put a couple of twists in there that I didn't expect. And it was some pretty good wrapping up of a lot of things. So it was pretty satisfying. Again, it was the things that shocked me didn't shock me out of, like, oh shit, I can't believe this happened. This is like, wow, I didn't see that coming. So that's a good thing. I think they handle it very well. Let's dive into the episode by going right to the end. Who won the Game of Thrones? Who was sitting on the Iron Throne and ruling the 7 kingdoms? I was correct. No one is. Technically. No one's sitting on the Iron Throne because Drogon melted the motherfucker. Straight up breath, and melted the fucking Iron Throne. And no one is king or queen of the 7 kingdoms, but Bran Stark. Little crippled boy, Bran Stark. Three-Eyed Raven, Bran Stark, is the king of the 6 kingdoms. Doesn't quite roll off your tongue as much as the 7 kingdoms, but they made Sansa Stark queen in the north. She wanted to be an independent kingdom, and they let her do it. Okay, great. Good for you, Sansa. She's the most loyal to the north, and she did a good job with all that. So, Arya, they decided to have her be, Dora the Explorer, and they put her on a boat and had her sail west. Where's west? Nobody knows. Everybody. There was a question in, I forget what season, someone asked, like, "Oh, what's west of Westeros?" Nobody knows. So she decided to go off on a boat and check it out. Now, Jon Snow. Jon Snow is the Queenslayer. Yes. As much as he didn't want to do it in this episode, he straight up shanked the Queen. Not with a shank that he probably wanted to give her. And then, that's her aunt. Don't do that. Whoa. But he could not. He didn't want to do it. You can obviously tell. They would handle it very well. He had a conversation with Tyrion before. Going back to the beginning episode, King's Landing is totally destroyed. They had, their army sitting out there all in formation. Dany came out and was giving a big old speech saying, like, there's more wars to fight. There's more, people in that needs to be set free and blah, 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 whatever. So she kind of is giving you that sense that she wants to continue being a conqueror, but putting it in a way that makes it sound like she's doing it for the people. But any type of historical despot that you look at them, they all think that they're doing the right thing for people and spreading peace and stuff. But all what Danny really did was fire and blood. I've got my fire and blood shirt on. I'll pop a picture up here of my shirt. You can't see it very well from where I'm sitting. But she brought fire and blood, and that's not the way to really get the people to love you. So Jon wasn't happy with that. Tyrion wasn't happy with that. You know, they all kind of feared her. Like, if she's gonna go do that, you know, Tyrion, he's all like, took off my hand of the queen, you know, badge here, threw it down, and she's like, you committed treason. You set your brother free when he was under my, when he was captured by me. So arrest him. So they arrested Tyrion. Jon goes to speak to Tyrion when he's like, you know, locked up, and Tyrion kind of puts in his mind like, hey, bitch gotta go. You know, I was wrong. I feel bad that I was wrong. I'm Tyrion, I'm not the smartest man. I was wrong. Varys was right, and I killed him. I feel shitty for it. But he put it in his head, so like, it's up to you, Jon. You have to do something about this. Jon keeps going like, she's my queen, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it was lovely how they did it. You really tell that Jon was struggling with it. And I saw someone mention that how they set the scene up is that Dany walks into the throne room, right? Sees the Iron Throne there. And everything's broken the fuck up, you know, because she destroyed everything. And the you know, walls are broken down, and you can see into the sky, and you know, the shit's wrecked. But the Iron Throne's still there. And she walks up to it all slowly. She puts her hand on the armrest of it. She never sits in it. And you can tell it's going through her mind of how far she's came to the, you know, to actually come to this point where she can actually touch the Iron Throne. This has been her lifelong quest. Not exactly lifelong, because it wasn't her quest until, you know, her brother died. Or she had her brother killed. Drogo killed her brother. You know, then she decided, I'm going to be the one that gets the Iron Throne. It's my right. Blah, blah, blah. So, since season 1, that's been her quest. And she finally got there. She never sat in it. Jon enters and like walks up to her and has a kind of tries to like reason with her, have a reasonable conversation. Like, hey, why don't we just let people be for now? Why you know, don't be all fire and conquering people. You know, you have to get people to love you. You know, don't be killing these Lannister soldiers in the streets, like, you know, I saw Grey Worm doing. And Dany he's basically like kind of giving her a chance to either explain herself or to reason with him and kind of, you know, show Jon that she's not crazy. And she, you know, and not, you know, crazy with power. And she's basically just like, you know, well, we have to. You know, there are enemies. We have to be strong. We can't show compassion. And Jon's like, why not? We can show compassion. Nothing wrong with that. She won't hear it. But, you know, and she was all she was concerned about is like, hey, you know, we won. 7 Kingdoms is ours. You know, just rule with me. You know, just be with me forever. You know, they still love each other, even though that's Jon's aunt. Jon is Dany's nephew. but they had no problems with that. They're Targaryens. But, Jon, they come up close to each other, embrace each other, and they give each other a kiss. And, it's a very moving part. You can tell Jon was struggling, and then as they kind of like come apart a little bit, you hear a shing. Jon stabs her ass, and of course he's emotionally distraught over it. Holds her, lays her down on the ground. She's bleeding. She doesn't say anything at that point, and she dies. So Jon had to kill the queen. Jon's a noble man, just like his adoptive father was, technically uncle. And so he has to be the one to do the right thing, and killing this now obvious mad queen was the right thing to do. But in this scene, he's mourning over her. He doesn't have much time to mourn because like I said, the walls are all like open up, and you hear Drogon fly by, and you hear the Drogon's roar. And you're like, uh-oh. Drogon knows something happened to his mom. Drogon flies into the opening of the throne room, lands, stares at Jon. Jon's, like I said, he doesn't have time to mourn. He's like, oh shit. Drogon sees his mom on the floor, stabbed, dead. He like nuzzles her, and like you can tell that Jon thought, oh shit, dragon's gonna just fry my ass right here. Drogon rears it back. You see the fire building up in the back of his throat, and blam, blast the Iron Throne. Right over Jon's head. And it was a cool scene. You see the throne like melting and shit, and like that was a cool ass scene. So, what's the meaning of that? Who knows? Overall, it was a big shock to see that Jon had it in him to kill Dany. That was his second love. Ygritte was his first love of his life, and he fell in love with Dany. And he even said, like, right when he stabbed her, he's like, "You'll always be my queen." The episode kind of like fades out into, obviously, like a couple weeks later. Shows Tyrion in his cell, and he has like a little bit longer beard, so he's been in there for a while. And they let him out, and all like the remaining lords of Westeros are all sitting in a circle in Dragon Pit, and they kind of have this conversation of like, okay, what now? And Tyrion's all like, well, Grey Worm wants to kill Tyrion because he's all like, he's a traitor, and the queen wanted to kill him, and everybody's all like, well, maybe not so fast. And they're like, what are we gonna do now? And it's funny, Sam had this interesting idea of maybe instead of letting the lords us decide, just us lords, let's leave it to the people. Sam, of all people, wants to bring democracy to Westeros. That's kind of funny. And all the lords around, they all laugh at him. And it's funny because like right away, you notice who's all there. All of the key players. Sansa's there, Arya's there, Bran's there. Their uncle is there, Edmure. You haven't seen him for a couple of seasons. You see Yara is there. The dude from Dorne is there. I don't even think they name him because I think that's the old Prince of Dorne's son. So yeah, I think that's the Prince of Dorne. Who else was there? A couple other people were there. And they're all they laugh at Sam. They're like, ha ha ha, democracy, that will never fucking work. They don't say that, but they just pretty much laugh it off. They're like, that won't happen. and shot his ass down. And Tyrion's all like, well, we have to choose somebody. You know, I had some good time to think of myself last couple of weeks, and I thought, what best way to, you know, what is a good, how do you put it? I forget now. You know, it's like, oh, people don't remember like the people who rule. It's the stories. It's the stories that build like a kingdom and stuff. And who's the best person to not only tell but to keep the stories of the land? The Three-Eyed Raven. Three-Eyed Raven knows all history and can see, you know, what's going on in the world at all times. And Tyrion's all like, Bran, I want Bran to be king. And amazingly, everybody agrees to it. So I mean, that was a shock, because I didn't expect them to give it to Bran. I thought maybe they might, you know, because at this point you don't see Jon where Jon's at. I thought he was gonna like straight up said, Jon's the rightful heir. He is a Targaryen. You know, do we want Jon to actually be the rightful heir? Jon's not even brought up at this point. And so, and it's funny because when he kind of goes up, when he says like, oh, how about Bran? You know, do you want it? And Bran's all like, why do you he's all, I wouldn't have come all the way down here, you know, if I wasn't up for it. So Bran knew they were going to name him king. Bran's, you know, he knows everything. Smug little bastard. It was a meme. That was like, bastard didn't do all the work for all 8 seasons, but still got an A at the end of the final or some shit. Again, overall, it was still some good shocks, some good surprises. But what do they do with Jon? They make Bran king of the 6 kingdoms. Like I said, Sansa is now the queen of Winterfell. Jon, you know, he was in jail. They're like, well, Grey Worm wanted to kill your ass because you killed the queen. But we compromised. We're sending you back to the Wall. You're going to be of the Night's Watch once again. All right. But, of course, in the Night's Watch, on the Wall, what are they guarding? Because prior, for the most part, the Wall was there to, everybody knew, to guard against wildlings from coming over the Wall and you know, raping and killing people in the South. Well, wildlings don't do that no more. Well, let's say probably won't. And also, the Wall was originally built to kill out, to keep out the army of the dead, White Walkers, the others. They're all gone. So what is the use of the Wall? So, and they had a really cool like sequence of scenes, like after this, like everybody got settled, and they keep showing Sansa, Arya, and Jon kind of going about what they're doing, like, you know, walking, and they parallel like the shots of each of them. You know, Sansa's walking to her throne, about to be crowned queen. Arya's walking along the deck of the ship that she's on, and Jon is walking. He's in Castle Black, and you know, walking along. You know, there's a bunch of wildlings there, and they're all parting ways for him. You know, see Tormund up there, and yes, he finally pet the fucking dog. He pet Ghost. Now, just a little while ago, before I left work, there was someone put up a meme of that. The actual shot of him petting Ghost was a reused scene from an earlier season. I'm gonna have to redo some research on that and find out if that's true. That's hilarious if that is true. That they probably threw that in there at the last minute because they saw in episode 4 that Jon didn't pet the dog, and people were pissed. And that shit's funny, so I want to check that out. and we'll find out what season that was. But yeah. And they show Jon, he's in Castle Black. There's all kinds of wildlings. Tormund's up there, pets his dog, and they all go through like the tunnel out the back of the wall, and they all head north. Him, Jon, his dog, Tormund, and all the wildlings all go north. So Jon's basically, he's just a free man. He just gets to live up in the north and do whatever the fuck he wants. So he's happy. He never wanted, power. He never wanted to be king of the north. He never wanted to be Lord Commander. And he definitely didn't want to be the king of all Westeros. But now he's just free. He's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I went and did it. And so that was nice. I liked how they wrapped all that up, because that was lovely. All the Starks, they all came out ahead. They all came out wanting what they wanted. And of course, Bran, who knows what the hell Bran wants. Bran didn't want to be lord of anything, but he got to be lord of the kingdom. So he's probably not too happy about that, but he's Bran. He gets to just like sit around and send out birds and whatever else and see what's happening in the world. And he made Tyrion his hand. So Tyrion's pretty much going to rule the Seven Kingdoms, if you think about it that way. Or Six Kingdoms, sorry. So that was very interesting. One scene I did want to mention, the very beginning of the episode, opens up, everybody's like, walking through all this destruction of King's Landing. Tyrion's all like, let me go into the castle and find Dany and stuff. But what he does instead is he makes his way down into the crypt section where all the dragon heads were, where Jaime and Cersei dies down there. They got crushed. Tyrion didn't know that. He figured that if Jaime made it out of there, he would have went through there into through the crypt section anyways. So he probably was just investigating it just to kind of see, did he make it out? But as he's walking through there, he sees a pile of rubble, all these bricks, and then he sees his brother's metal hand. And the way they play this scene was very emotional. He starts taking some bricks off, and he sees Cersei, takes a couple more bricks off, and he sees Jaime. And they're like, Jaime's on top of Cersei, holding on to her. And, Tyrion just breaks down sobbing. And, Peter Dinklage, he's a phenomenal actor. You can see the grief in him. You see the anger that this happened. He might not have cared much for Cersei, but he knew that she had a child in her, or supposedly had a child in her, and he, of course, loved his brother. And he was broken up about it, you could tell, and he was just angry about that. So that was a lovely scene to see, that he at least found them and was able to mourn for his brother, at least, and just mourn in general for everything that's going on. And you could tell that was a hard scene for him. Overall, it was a pretty good episode. I know I bounced around a lot in this, and I just kind of described exactly what happened in the episode. So if you haven't seen it, you know what's happened now. A few things that I was kind of, now that the whole series is over, I will kind of say that as a wrap for season 8, a lot of people kind of complained about the pacing. Everything seemed too fast, and I agree. They could have maybe slowed things down and had 2 or 3 more episodes. But of course, in an episodic format as how it is, and I kind of came to this realization that, they probably couldn't, in the way they kind of wrote the story, in that, the way it went, it was the first 2 episodes was mostly in Winterfell, and they were all kind of planning for the big fight against the Army of the Dead. They were coming, and so they had those 2 episodes to plan for that. 3rd episode, the Battle for Winterfell, and because it's an episode of content, you can't drag that fight over 2 episodes. You have to finish up in that 1 episode. Then another episode, after they won. You have one more downtime, quote unquote downtime episode, for conversation, travel, and the next step of going to King's Landing and taking out Cersei. So that could have been stretched out over 2 episodes. But again, if you do it that way, because here we go again, the episode right after that was the battle over King's Landing, where again you have to have that as one single episode. You can't do it in over 2 episodes. And then you have the finale. So that's your 6 episodes. You probably could have put 1 episode before the Battle for Winterfell, have like the 3 episode lead up to it, have more conversation, show more planning, show more cunning, more fortification, and then the whole battle itself would have been totally different. And then maybe show more of, what Cersei's doing down in King's Landing. They showed her a little bit in the first 2 episodes, but that's about it. And Lena Headey, she's a great actress, but in season 8 she didn't have much to do. She didn't have many lines. It was very it's kind of, because of the pacing, they pretty much just made her stand in the background and just be like, this is the big baddie that's next that you have to go after the Night King and stuff. So she didn't really have much to do. Of course, she had her machinations going on that she had to plan for. Because she obviously fortified herself because she knew that, after there's going to be people coming for her after that. What was I going to say? So they could have had more episodes showing her stuff, like what she's doing. Maybe come out in the show like Qyburn saying, "Hey, look, we got new, bigger scorpions." That probably spoiled the surprise, because that's what they did with the Euron had a bigger scorpion on his ship, and that's what took out the other dragon. But yeah, if anything, they could have maybe padded it out to 8 episodes. Because a lot of people they're complaining that everything went too fast. Things didn't seem like it was like smart writing. It was like, it felt like it was written for a blockbuster movie, and that's pretty much what it was. They're like 2 blockbuster movies cut down to 6 parts. That's pretty much what it was. And what do you do with that? Like, yeah, you could have been like the earlier seasons where, it was like 10 episodes, and you have more dialogue, you have a lot more planning, you have a lot more things to do. But of course, in the earlier seasons, you had so many more characters to bounce around between. Now we're in this last season, all you really have is the North and the South. You have King's Landing and you have Winterfell. That's all you really had to cover. So you didn't have a shitload of people to kind of worry about. You have to go over to Essos. You have to go over to, Dragons. Over to see whatever Stannis is doing. You have to go over to see where what's going on in Iron Islands. You didn't have to do that shit. You have to just see Arya and the Hound walking around a lot. To see a lot of things. So that's in the earlier seasons, that was what padded out everything. That's what made everything take longer and a lot more detail, because you have a lot more characters to focus on and a lot more things going on. When you only have a very, very, few things going on in the world, you really don't have to focus too much on every single character. So that goes a lot faster. So that makes sense. I really wish the season was longer. But how to fill that extra time, I don't know. I'm not a writer myself. Half the internet thinks they are better writers than the writers of the show, but that's neither here nor there. Overall, though, I enjoyed all of season 8. I enjoyed the finale. I thought it was a good wrap up of this show, and a lot of people complaining. They had some valid complaints. Again, as I mentioned, is that like for the Battle of Winterfell against Army of the Dead, they could have planned that out better. Be a little more smarter in the planning for that. Maybe they couldn't. The logic there is, even though they were planning for a long time, and they were planning, and then they heard, oh wait, the wall is down. We don't have time for this shit. They couldn't really plan out as fully as they probably should have been. They had another couple weeks maybe, but they're like, hey, they're coming. They're gonna be here in like a day. So that's that. They could have even, hell, Jon and Dany went out on a joyride with their dragons. They could have flew north a little bit and just scope out hey, where are they at? Yeah, they could have been running a risk to run into the Night King on his dragon. But still, at any time there's a work of fiction where once you've seen it, you can look at it and go, I would do that differently, or I would change that. This could be better. You can do that with anything. Doesn't matter how. Even the most perfect work of fiction, you can do that too. Whether or not you would actually make it better, that's up for debate. But everybody can look at anything and go, okay, yeah, this can be improved. So the amount of improvements something that could be made upon determines whether something is good and bad. Good or bad, sorry. In season 8, I would change very little. I would make that Battle of Winterfell a little more smarter, a little more strategized. But other than that, the outcome at the end, I wouldn't have changed. I would have, tried to pad out some episodes some more and get a couple more episodes out of it. That would have been great. The episode 5 where Dany goes and destroys all of King's Landing, I was shocked by that, but it was kind of a necessary move. You saw it coming almost all the way through Dany's life in her story, is that when push comes to shove, she shoves back hard and her fury comes out and she brings the fire and blood. There we go again, fire and blood. Can you see it better? There we go. And so you saw it coming. I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't expect it to go the way they did it. I thought she was gonna just straight up roll on their asses and not caring, but no, they did it where, yeah, she rolled up on them at the beginning and took out all their major defenses. Let the army, her army, able to get into King's Landing, and the Lannister army surrendered, and they rung the bells, basically saying, "Yeah, ring the bells, we surrender." Dany wouldn't have that. At that point, see, if anything, if they didn't surrender, that would be a different story. Yeah, keep rolling up on their asses and destroy the fuck out of them. But that didn't happen. And it kind of just, they did it. It was a necessary thing for them to make her lose her mind and blow up everything, because that, goes to show you that, hey, yeah, she really is kind of a mad Targaryen. She is a dragon. She is not to be trusted with the Seven Kingdoms. She's, not good for the realm. So she's got to go. And that was kind of necessary. A lot of people who probably really loved her, I loved her character, but I'm kind of glad it went this way, because it would be kind of a trope for her to roll into King's Landing, blow it the fuck up, or blow up, the defenses. Lannister army surrenders. And she goes, fine, all right. Flies straight to Cersei right away, and just does whatever's necessary to take out Cersei, and that's it. And no innocent casualties, no unnecessary carnage for the city, and everybody loves her for that. That could have happened. Could have easily happened. Dany's whole thing was that she didn't think the people of Westeros was going to love her, and everybody kept telling her they will. When she got to Westeros, nobody was. Nobody was loving her, and she felt that. That's one of the reasons why she snapped. She lost her dragon, she lost her best friend, she snapped. And nobody loved her. Even she could see that Jon Snow was a threat to her claim. And so, yeah, that coin flip, that 50-50 coin flip of being, mad or not, that tipped that over to the madness side. So it's a very, very plausible outcome, and I'm glad they did it. Would I still be equally glad if they did it the other way? I don't know. Probably. I'll still accept it. It's kind of tropey, because then the next conflict would be, all right, she took over the city, destroyed Cersei, and with minimal casualties. No innocents died. People love her now, but now you still have the problem of Jon Snow. Maybe Jon Snow would have been like, it's all yours, queen. You're my queen. Maybe at that point she could have said to Jon, well, Tyrion still betrayed me. He let Jaime go, and he was my prisoner, so he's committed treason. Jon, you kill him. You kill Tyrion. That would have been a fucked up, scenario. Like I said, there's 100 different things you could write for what ifs. But this is a story we got, and the story I got was brilliant. I think it was very well handled. Nothing's perfect, but it was very well handled, and I couldn't have wrote a bit better story. A lot of people think they can. Go for it. Write a story, send it into HBO, and see what they think. That's all I can say. There's one more thing I will say to end this. This has gone way beyond a review for the show, but I will say that no matter what happens, because there's 2 books left remaining, I foresee that by the time these books come out, whenever they do come out, that will finish up George R.R. Martin's 7-book series. Either they'll the very ending of the books be right where the show ended, how it ended, Bran the king, all the Starks going off into their own thing, and Dany dead, Cersei dead, King's Landing destroyed. If all those little elements happen, and even before that, the Night King dead, which I'm in the middle of the 4th book. In the books, they don't delve much with the Army of the Dead as much as they do in the show. They do a little bit, but it's definitely not a very pressing issue for the books. Anyway, whatever they do in the books, if they do it either pretty much or almost close to how they do it in the show, people are going to be mad. And the reason they're going to be mad is that they'll be, saying, oh, I bet George R. R. Martin wrote it like that to be like the show because HBO told him to. And that wasn't how it was supposed to be. He probably had a different plan for it. He might be right. He might be wrong. Nobody will know except for George R. R. Martin. Nobody knows what the true thing is. Now, the second part, B, is that when the books come out, maybe the ending is completely different. Maybe the Night King kills everybody. Maybe Dany sits on the Iron Throne. You know, maybe Jon dies at some point. Who knows? We don't know what will happen. But, however, if it's completely different than the show, people will still be mad. Because then they may be going, hey, wait a minute. I thought Martin told the showrunners how the ending's going to be, but I bet you he had this ending that the show did, but because he saw that people were mad at that ending, he changed his books. Nobody's happy. Nobody's going to be happy when these books come out. Well, some people might be. Actually, reasonable people will be, but a lot of people are going to be pissed. Either way, either outcome. If it's different or if it's the same, there's going to be pissed people out there. Mark my words. Here it is, May 20th, 2019. Mark my words. When these books come out, the 7th book is out, you're going to see pissed off people. And they're going to say exactly what I said, that either he wrote it to be like the HBO show, or he wrote it to be purposely different than the HBO show. Because we know that Martin talked to the show writers and gave him a basic outline. Like, this is what I plan for the ending. We don't know if the showrunners stuck to it, or we don't know what they might have changed or altered to fit what their progression of the narrative was. We don't know how close Martin's going to stick to his own prediction of the ending. So we don't know. We need these books to come out. Overall, Game of Thrones ended up to being one of my favorite TV shows of all time, right up there with like Breaking Bad. In terms of course, dramatic TV shows. I mean, I like sitcoms and stuff like that, but you know, it's no TV show has matched the scope and scale of the Game of Thrones. And there's something to be said for that. And there's so many great moments, so many great events, so many characters that you were torn to either love and hate, back and forth. The same characters, you either loved or hated them, and sometimes you did both. You're like, oh, I love this character, but I hate him. You know, so, you know, there are a lot of good characters, a lot of funny moments, a lot of brutal moments, a lot of heartbreaking moments, and it captivated millions of people, and there's a reason for that. And you know, everybody's gonna be missing it, and hear that sound tick, 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 of, you know, clicking people's, you know, mouses and unsubscribing from HBO and stuff. They're calling HBO, cancel my shit. It's still a really great series, and I cannot wait to own the entire box set on Blu-ray. So I'm definitely going to buy it. And I give George R. R. Martin applause for this epic story. I gave the show writers applause for that. All the actors who put in so much hard work to bring these characters to life. Everybody behind the scenes, you know, grips, cameramen, cinematographers, directors, everybody, you know, set designers, makeup. So many awesome people did this work, and I thank all of them. They did such a great job. And I'll just say, you know, one last time, for the people who keep saying that, oh, it was lazy writing and they did it lazy in season 8. Look at the thousands of people that worked on the show. Do you think they're all lazy? No, they worked their ass off. When you're given even if you have a movie that's really bad It's a terrible movie. People still work their ass off on it. You can still complain about it. You can still say that's a terrible ass movie. I'm not taking away anybody's right to complain about what they think about the 8th season of Game of Thrones. Go ahead, complain. That's fine. But they ain't gonna change it. This is what we got. So either accept it and move on. But don't be like trying to ruin it for people who didn't like it. Don't be going out there going, oh, how can you like it? You don't know what the hell's good. If you like this and you don't know what good writing is. Man. Alright, whatever. That's my rant. I didn't want to go into that rant, for this review, but I sure am gonna miss this show. It is. I'm still reading the book, so I still like the story. I'm listening to the audiobook, by the way. Which, by the way, if you think about doing it, don't do it, because the guy who reads it, he's a really good reader of the book. He does like a lot of characters very well, but he's an old man, and there's a lot of female characters in the story, and it's odd to hear him do female voices. I wish they do audiobooks with characters. Get a female to read the female parts, please. This Game of Thrones has sex scenes in it. You don't want to hear an old man voicing a woman moaning. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyways, that's my long, meandering review about Game of Thrones Season 8 and the finale. And I loved it. It was great, and I'm probably going to watch it again. Just for the hell of it. I do like watching like the making of and the behind the scenes thing. Those are really cool. If you like my review here and you didn't mind me rambling and stuff too much while I sit here in my driveway, leave me a message down there and tell me what you thought about it. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day. I love you.